Hello, this is Michael Hexter. Welcome to my Politics 2100 videocast here on YouTube. So this episode I'm calling The People's Budget Seniority, Spending and Tax Policy for and by the People. So what I'm trying to do is build on some of my recent videos about modern money theory to talk about an idea that I've written about a few years ago, and I wanted to bring it up to date and try to make a case for it being as strong and powerful an idea as, or even stronger, more powerful idea as tax policy and the somewhat misleading idea of redistribution through more progressive taxation. So, which is a focus of, among others, Bernie Sanders, much of the left intelligentsia in the United States, Robert Reich, others who, and also farther left than those people, view money as being possessed by the rich and then needs to be taxed away from the rich in order to do things for the people. And so it puts the people, or the vast majority, the 99%, at a great disadvantage, and in the way below the funnel, or the choke point, or the bottleneck, sort of, is in any of their plans is always, can we tax the rich? How much can we tax them? And so this model, which is almost, if not quite universally accepted by many people on the left, except for the modern money theory community, they think of this as totally sensible, and also it's a form of cosmic justice, that somehow one is, getting that you're punishing the rich for being too rich, and you're also then getting the benefit of their money. Okay, and with this plan, in other words, so the impulse to do things for people, and the impulse to have government pay for it, have leaders design institutions that do things for the people, is all below this choke point of getting the tax money. So instead, what I'm proposing now, many modern money theory writers have exposed that this is an untrue way to portray the budgeting process of a monetarily sovereign fiat currency issuing government like the United States federal government, which pays for things and then taxes away the money. Okay, and it pays. The beginning of the cycle is the paying part, is the spending part, and then the taxing is a break on the impact of the spending in various ways, in various forms. Okay, and so to also the equal balance between the spending and the breaking is not, in most circumstances, not what you want. You want to impel the society forward. You want to create public goods. You want to, and impelling the society forward requires the spending to at least be very much differentiated from the tax, which is, there's some scenarios where they could be equal in value, and still that spending could push the society in a particular direction. But in general, especially in a society where growth is supposed to, and again, there's also controversy about growth, especially from an ecological standpoint, but still there's an assumption that growth is important, and currently, as our economy is structured, nothing new will happen without at least some forms of growth in some sectors of the economy. So putting that aside for the time being, we assume that in our economy we need a certain level of deficits to create new circumstances for the economy to move into, for the society to move into, and this is kind of an original formulation of it, but also based on the modern money theory, modern monetary theory uh, observations about the economy. Basically, it's a set of observations that suggest that this is the case. So, anyway, one way to look at this from a left perspective is that you want the people, the 99%, and their concerns and the future that they want to for themselves and then for their children, that you want to structure the spending and the tax policy to conform to the needs of that. And so I've used the word in the past, the seniority. So who has seniority relative to the power of the purse? So seniority is a word from debt, basically, in the private sector. You have various people who hold creditors who hold various assets or various liabilities that they need. Whoever needs to be paid first if something happens in a company. So there's a seniority to whomever. There's super senior creditors and there are less senior creditors that get paid first. In other words, so if the company makes a certain amount of money and they have a certain number of bonds that need to be paid off, the bonds that they pay the most senior creditor. It's a sequence. It's whoever is most owed or is in the strongest position, and this is all written down in the contracts that the bond issue is based upon. So in any case, I've used that word seniority to talk about the power of the purse. In other words, that whoever is the most senior gets the benefits of, and then this is not written down, this is unspoken seniority. So it is not written into contracts. They're unwritten contracts, but still in terms of behavior. And basically, this is a function of the power in our current society, the power of who has given the most money to which politicians, and who is located in a position where they can, or alternatively, which economic sectors, which organizations, which individuals are located in a position where they can either basically crash the economy or potentially create havoc in the society, so that they have a particular power. So the seniority is based on donations, on lobbying, and in our corrupt system. Okay, and so they have seniority relative in terms of if they get bailouts. Now, currently, this power of the purse, which exists or not, whether or not you and this disparity between spending and taxation and their lack of linkage exists anyway, whether or not you believe in modern money theory, it just is. And so, or whether you espouse modern monetary theory, but the people who are most, for instance, the banks or maybe certain large corporations in certain critical sectors, are like, for instance, the military-industrial complex, that those sectors have seniority in our system. It's not unwritten seniority, and so they get first crack at the budgets, first crack at the spending, or whether it's emergency spending, whether it's emergency liquidity provision of various kinds, as happened in 2008, 2009, and so. So they are getting the benefit of the currency issuing government, the issuing of liquidity of money without any keystrokes, as we call it in the modern money theory the keystrokes of in a computer on the keyboard that mark up bank accounts and therefore spend money from the federal government. So and that but so who gets that, and also who gets the benefit of the structure of the tax policy? Who gets the most benefit of, who gets the tax credits? Who gets tax cuts? And so all of these things in our current system favor the rich, favor the most well-connected. And so the concept I want to put out there, I want to say this is about people's budget seniority. So in other words, the people should be the most senior in this budgeting process. The people and the gravest threats to the people's welfare and should be the most senior concerns of the government. And currently, in the way, for instance, this budget bill is being proposed and it's being cut down, and we see that it's being bargained down, okay, and it's being by moderates, or quote unquote moderates, which are corporate Democrats, as well as being, totally rejected by the Republicans, who are as or more corrupt than the corrupt corporate Democrats. That there's a wall of politicians who are keeping this seniority, the current seniority situation, or the current ranking in the seniority relative to what the government does intact, or trying to keep it intact. And so what's up to political groups, what's up to progressives what's up to them is to raise, or not only to raise, but to say that we need money for the people, okay? Money being spent for the people, being spent for the survival of the people. If it's not being spent for the survival of the people, it's being absconded with, it's being sequestered. I use the word sequestered, may not be as sexy as some concepts for a left-wing audience, but it's being tied up, okay, and being usurped, okay, is a better way. So it's being usurped by these powerful interests for their own uses, and they already have abundant resources in the private economy, or they already have, some of it is gained from exactly this process of, for instance, military contractors are entirely, their wealth is entirely based upon federal spending, or either U.S. federal spending or some other governments buying arms from them. So anyway, the left doesn't have a language, and I'm trying to create this language and the climate movement also doesn't have a language to push this process and to say, look, you have a misplaced priorities in terms of spending. I mean, it's implied, it's something, but when you're talking about taxing the rich and so forth, you're immediately off in left field. You're immediately not on the territory, on the ground of reality, in terms of what will push the economy forward. What is the dynamic of pushing the economy forward and pushing it toward the goals you want? And that is the spending part. And then the taxation to shape, to sort of, the spending is pushing it forward, and the taxation, you can sculpt some things with the taxation. Okay, you can add and subtract. You can create some nuance there in what you're trying to do to drive the goals, the public purposes. Another word that's used often in the modern money theory community, the public purpose, or the public purposes that are sometimes the word public purpose is used in the singular. It seems a little vague and mysterious sometimes if it's used that, but there are public purposes that need to be pursued in any given moment in time. So we need to, we should be demonstrating and we should be pushing forward. We should be getting politicians, we should be supporting politicians who say, I am for using the power of the purse, the power of the federal government's money to support the 99%, the people's broad goals. And that's what I want to do in general. And then in specific, I want to do X, Y, and Z, you know, Green New Deal, Medicare for all, you know, free college, you know, host of different big programs that, you know, a housing Green New Deal, affordable housing, social housing for all, you know, following the Viennese, the model of Vienna in terms of how to build housing and how to create a good a newer housing stock, or at least an updated housing stock that is climate stabilizing. And so anyway, so all of these goals should be at the forefront of left politics, and that should be being pushed. And politicians, the current generation of politicians, even the younger ones, haven't yet understood what I'm just saying about the impulse drive of the government spending, the creation of a strong public sector, leading public sector that leads the economy through spending. And so that's and what I'm saying is that's you elevate the seniority of the people, of their goals, of what people want, and you say, this is what we should be spending money on. And the distraction of saying, well, then, you know, getting money away from rich people, yes, that's part of the goal, because we want to knock down their seniority relative to how the economy is shaped, knock down their priority, their place of priority. So, and taxing them more is one aspect of it, of doing that. But that's a little bit the tail wagging the dog if you talk about that first. You need to assert first you need to declare the seniority of the people in the use of public money. That's another word that and I probably should do another video about the taxpayer money versus public money debate, or not just debate, but the naming convention of what you call the money that the government has or a government can generate. And so anyway, so I think this is I might come up with a formulation that's more attractive to you, and you might think that that's the way to discuss it that will motivate people. But I'm trying to get the concept over that we need to be focusing on the drive forward, the impulse drive forward, which is the spending on projects that need to happen. And that is, so we need to be forefronting that. We need to have politicians that put that, and that the people that is for are for the ordinary people, you know, the vast majority of Americans, the 99%, you know, the recent 10th anniversary of Occupy Wall Street, you know, that was one of the very good products of Occupy Wall Street, was the idea of the 99%. And so we need to be reviving that in the context of federal budgeting, and even though that sounds very, so some you say, oh, budgeting, eye roll, but it's like, that's where the action is. That's what will make life better. That's what will push us toward our climate goal. That's what will start us reducing our emissions actually, it needs to happen in a emergency mobilization way. But anyway, so I'm preaching a little bit here, but and I might come up with a better formulation of this in the future. But if you in the comments could propose new formulations, if you think you have a better way to describe what I'm talking about, please do. And so, and also, if you like this video, please like it. Also, if you're liking Politics 2100, please subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.